Let's get ready to story!
Ooh! Dun, 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 dun. Technology won't work, it's gonna screw up, watch it. No, it worked! Oh my god, it worked. Okay, this next storyteller did not have a Wikipedia page for their name. So I took the first Wikipedia page that came up because their first name was involved somehow in the article, and their last name was somehow involved in the article. So, Ashley Teatum is also known as Eduardo Michel Nunez Mendez, a Dominican professional baseball shortstop. He plays for the New York Yankees of Major League Baseball. Although shortstop is his primary position, the Yankees have used Nunez as a utility infielder and have played him in the outfield as well. My God, she must be tired having traveled all the way from New York City. Give it up for Ashley Teatum, who also writes for sports. It is fitting because the sports thing, right? It's very fitting.
Is that a good height? Do you need this?
I think I'm okay.
You are okay.
Quick bit of trivia. I actually worked for the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yankees while Eduardo Nunez was at shortstop. So, 2 weeks ago, I traded in my 2007 Toyota Yaris. Her name was Vesper Lind. I named her after James Bond's first love in the novel Casino Royale, obviously. And she had 81,152 miles on her. The car, not the woman. Now, Vesper had taken me everywhere. And the one thing that I really didn't dig about getting rid of her, having to trade her in, was how much I got for her. You see, Vesper and I had been together for 6 years. You know, she watched me grow up from this 20-year-old who was scared and shaking in her boots, looking at this frightening future, to the 25-year-old who's freaking excited about the future and can't wait to embrace it. Jesus. But what got me the most was how much I got for her. And the reason being, I felt like our time was a little bit more priceless, a little more valuable than $1,500. I got $1,500 for a brand spanking new car. 6 years old, that's not bad, right? 81,000. Who wants it for a little bit more than $1,500? You see, I don't think that we really take the time to think about our vehicles that take us on the road trips. We don't think about the vehicles that get us, you know, to all the different stops that we make along the path of life. And let me tell you that Vesper and I, over 6 years, made many, many stops. I mean, for work alone here in Northeast Pennsylvania, I would bet that I have been to more places in Scranton and Northeast Pennsylvania than all of you who have grown up here have probably been in your whole life. Let's do a little audience participation here. If you're from Scranton, raise a hands. How many of you have been to Carbondale? That's good. Honesdale. Okay. Susquehanna. Montrose. Wallenpaupack. I got one for you. All the hands are going to go down. Starrucka. Oh, that's great. Hey, blame high school football season for making me a world traveler in Northeast Pennsylvania, okay? You know, and Vesper took me all along the East Coast. You know, she could get me to Philadelphia for an impromptu art museum visit right before a Matt Nathanson concert at the Electric Factory. She could take me to White Plains the night before a law school graduation and the day of a friend's sister's wedding. She could get me to my hometown of Staten Island. Staten Island? That'd be me. Okay. All right, cool, all right. She could take me to Staten Island, and that would be for a birthday, a quick cup of coffee, a best friend's mother's funeral, and she could do it all with her eyes closed. Don't worry, my eyes weren't closed. There was that one time that we drove through Manhattan. Never drive through New York City. Never do it. It's not good for your health. And you know, in a car by yourself for 2.5 hours at a stretch is a very long time to be by yourself. I mean, thank goodness there were no like hidden cameras or anything like that. that I know of NSA, because all they would see is me serenading the dashboard to Les Mis, Stephen Sondheim, and Meatloaf. Though it's cold and lonely in the deep dark night. But you know, 2.5 hours also gives you a lot of time to think, and sometimes Vesper would experience these emotions with me that some of my closest friends hadn't even seen from me in all of our time together. I remember driving to South Jersey on New Year's Eve, maybe a couple of years ago, knowing that I was driving toward this long-term, long-distance relationship that I had known lasted way, way longer than it should have, and that it needed to end that night. On the way to Asbury Park and Freehold in New Jersey, you know, Vesper listened to two travelers who were wondering aloud whether they should just abandon their careers altogether. And then she experienced the excitement they felt as they parked her and went to walk the back streets where Bruce Springsteen grew up. When we were traveling through Canada, she experienced the wilds of Ontario. She smells the crepes of Montreal. Did you like the French accent? Okay. And she drove circles around Ottawa just trying to find a damn space to park. Please, I just need to put this car somewhere while we walk around. She climbed the Green Mountains of Vermont with a little bit of encouragement. Come on, Vesper, come on, baby, I know you can do it. Who's my little girl? You got this, you got this. She also took me, you know, there were a couple of times where, you know, had to make a decision, for example, between leaving for home on Thanksgiving Day, junior year of college, something along those lines, and battling the Thanksgiving Day traffic or battling the snow Wednesday evening before that. So I went with Wednesday evening. 3.5 feet of snow later, 120 miles later, had taken me 4.5 hours to get home. Or there was the time where I got out of work right at midnight, ready to start summer vacation, driving to Cape May, yes! When a half hour into the ride, driving rain. Actually, the rain looked more like this, driving on the highway. And you know, there were times when my partner Steve and I, we would just decide on a city or a town that we would go to, and we just explore it for a couple of hours, just to see what it's like to be there. We went to Allentown, we went to Bethlehem to visit Moravian Bookshop, which is one of the oldest continuously running bookstores in America. The oldest. We went to Lewisburg. We walked around the Arboretum at Bucknell, and then we visited the co-op bookstore, Mondragon. While we were in, you know, Hyde Park, New York, where the FDR Museum is, we went to get a bottle of wine at Rhinebeck, and then we went to a bookstore called Oblong Books. I understand that most of my trips revolve around going to bookstores. I am okay with this. I've come to terms with it. Oh, by the way, if you were live tweeting this story, we're going with #total-and-complete-nerd. You know, you ever notice that when you're about to embark on a journey, speaking of weather, that the weather all of a sudden decides, you know what? I'm gonna suck right now. You know, those were just some of the things that Vesper and I experienced together. And when I had to trade her in, it was a very sad moment for me. But I feel like we don't realize that your car doesn't just transport you to the beach or take you from point A to point B. I really feel like Vesper helped me get to this point in my life. This point in my life where I'm standing in Honeychilds telling this story about this car that I loved, and when I can tell you that I'm actually leaving Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm leaving Scranton, Pennsylvania, which has been my home for the past 8 years, and I'm moving to Denver, Colorado next month. And I want to, you know, kickstart a writing career. I want to experience new challenges. I just want to go somewhere different where I've never been before. And Vesper isn't going to be the one to take me there. You know, after so many miles and so many stops and so many trips to the service garage, Vesper simply couldn't be the one to take me there. So I have a new car. It's a 2013 Toyota Corolla. Her name is Solitaire. named after the second love interest of James Bond in the novel Live and Let Die. And she has 350 miles on it. Not the car, the woman, okay. But you know what? I think she has a pretty big set of wheels to fill.